So we got, oh, this will be perhaps even more interesting. Jimmy in San Antonio, thanks for waiting. Are you there?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm confused because normally they list next to each name whether it's a theist or an atheist, so we can give priority to theists. And next to yours it says neither, and that's not possible. So I'm
Well, we spoke about that last time, man. I was trying to explain to you the view of perennial philosophy, and I mean, it is an alternative view from atheism and theism.
okay, but I'm just talking about raw logic. If theism is the belief that a God exists, and atheism is the absence of that belief or not being convinced, theists are.
Yeah, no, you tried to tell me that last time, and what I was trying to explain to you, I understand that point of raw logic, except it's only applicable depending on how you define atheism. And I'm trying to tell you that.
It's applicable depending on how you define theism.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to say theism. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So are you
on how you define God.
Are you a theist? Do you believe that a God exists?
Well, man, maybe you can tell me, man, because I, as far as I can discern this,
I can't tell you what you. I can't tell you what you believe. It's a simple question. Are you in fact?
No,
let me finish. Are you in fact convinced that a God exists?
I think perennialism is an entirely different take on that.
This is a yes or no question.
Yeah, it's a binary thing. It's yes or no.
Are you convinced that a God exists? It doesn't even matter how you define God. I'm just trying to find out, are you convinced that a God exists?
Can I define perennialism for you?
I'm asking about a God.
That's why I disagree. I think it's irrelevant. I think
if I were to ask you, do you believe that the Loch Ness Monster exists? Would you be trying to define some alternate views on Loch Ness monsters?
Because Loch Ness is more concretely defined than God.
Well, okay. All I'm asking is, do you believe that any God, under any definition, is real?
I see that's where I have an issue, man. Like, if you could I tell you what perennialism is, and then maybe you could decide whether it's.
I'm not the one. Okay, I'm not the one who's going to decide whether or not you believe. I don't understand why you're having such. I don't understand why you're not letting me finish a fucking sentence. First of all, but I also don't understand why you're having such difficulty. Under whatever definition of God you want, pick any, make one up. Are there any definitions for God under which you are actually convinced that that God is real?
Sure, I guess you can put it that way. And
sure.
If that's the case, then theism.
Now, the follow-up question to that is, what definition of God are you saying is real?
All right, so the view of perennial philosophy is that all major religions are based in mysticism.
I don't give a shit. Why is it you can't answer the question? You just acknowledged that you believe some God exists, and now I'm asking you, define that God that you just told me you believe exists.
I am defining it.
No, you're not.
I think. Man, you don't need to finish that.
You don't define a God by saying there's this notion that all religions point to some God that is real. I want to know what the definition. Go ahead.
Well, okay, the idea behind perennial philosophy is that all religion is based in mysticism, and all these terms like God, Allah, Brahman are all different ways to reference the mystical experience, uttered by mystics all across times and cultures and, different times and places, but essentially referring to the same universal ultimate state of consciousness.
That is exactly what I just said, only you took twice as long to say it.
Okay.
That all religions point to some true God. That's exactly what you just said.
Well, it's not. Perennialism is not a theist position, though. It's more of a perspective on religion.
Okay, but you acknowledge that there is a definition for God under which you are convinced that God exists, and I'm asking, what is that definition?
Well, if you want to consider it a theist position, then yes. I mean, it's referring. Each religion is referring in different ways to the mystical altered state.
I don't care what different religions are doing. I'm asking you,
well, that's the
Jimmy,
definition of God.
What definition of God did you just say that you believe?
I adhere to perennialism, so that's the definition of God.
That's not a definition of God.
Well,
sorry.
I read up on it, man. Like,
Jimmy,
I don't think it's binary in the way.
Jimmy, you said you believe in a God, and I'm asking you which God.
Well, according to perennial philosophy, there is no particular. Like each utterance from each religion are different ways of describing one and the same thing.
So, how do you describe God?
I adhere to that. I believe that there is a mystical experience that we all have the potential to experience, because I mean I've had one myself, and then
okay, but how do you know that
scientifically?
How do you know that the thing that you're labeling a mystical experience is in fact real and points to something that is truly divine in nature?
There's been peer-reviewed studies on it.
No, there fucking hasn't.
No, there has.
Science is not. Science can't investigate the mystical to confirm that it is in fact mystical. What they can do is explore individuals' brains and experiences and determine whether or not they're having some experience. But you're labeling that experience mystical and going down the road of perennial philosophy or theology to say that this mystical experience represents the God that exists, that you're willing to accept exists, and that's something that science can't confirm.
No, actually, I was on with you last time with Tracy, and I think she said it. She articulated very nicely. I like the way she put it. She said, "See, these people these scientists, these neuroscientists that are investigating this altered state, have used this label mystical experience. I know it has connotations to it, but what they're referring to is a specific altered state. And what Tracy said is that they're reaching back to how it's been traditionally described throughout the major religions in history, and now they're saying that they can reproduce it."
So I don't care that somebody describes something as mystical. What I care is it in fact mystical? Is it pointing to some supernatural, divine, transcendent thing that you are willing to label as God?
Well, I mean, with Tracy, I'm on band with what she said. She was saying, it is a natural altered state, but pre-scientifically, if you refer to these mystics who lived long ago, they refer to it in such a way like Brahman or Nirvana, Satori.
I don't care why is this so hard to understand, Jimmy? There's a whole bunch of people who have had experiences. What I care is the truth of those experiences, not how they labeled it or what they thought was happening.
I care about that too.
Then let's get to the truth of those experiences. Stop pointing back and saying they labeled them mystical or whatever else. What is the truth of those experiences?
Well, it's what they found, and these neuroscientists have found, is that there's universal characteristics. It's something that you can experience if you, in fact, they're considering the possibility at Johns Hopkins to recruiting confirmed atheists.
Jimmy, I can get high. That doesn't tell me if the hallucinations I have when I'm high are real.
High. We've been over this last time.
Jimmy, this is an analogy. I'm talking about an experience. I can have an experience that is independent of whether or not my interpretation of that experience is accurate.
We discussed this last time.
Good, then we're done this time too. I don't see the need to keep going over the stuff we went over last time. If you're willing to say, oh yes, there's some definition of a God that I think is real, but then unable to define it and going on about how, this view is that all of these people who've had mystical experiences, how do you know they're mystical experiences? You can't just start injecting stuff and saying, oh, this is mystical. This is mystical. No.
It kind of reminds me of what the people that write this periodically talking about DMT.
Yeah.
Is about, it's like they talk about this and they act like it's some new discovery. It's like people have known about DMT for a long time.
And peyote and mushrooms and acid and okay, so there's all kinds of drugs that can induce altered states and experiences, and I'm fine with the fact that these experiences are real because I've had them. But the experiences are something that I've had, but that doesn't mean that if I interpret it, that when I got high, I touched God, that I'm correct.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we don't have to have drugs to induce them. Fine, I don't give a damn how they were induced. Here is a person, a thinking agent, who has experiences in regular life. I'm looking out, I see glass, I see people on the other side of the glass, I see cameras. There are ways for me to find out whether or not what I'm experiencing is accurate, or as accurate as we can tell. Independent. Jen, do you see people on the other side of the glass?
I do.
Cool, that's step one. Then we could go out and talk to them, we could get independent verification.
They're waving at us.
Well, see, oh my gosh. Maybe they're waving at the people in the glass.
Oh.
Oh. How do I know that this reflection of me isn't actually a me from an alternate universe? People get entrenched in this idea that DMT, drugs, whatever, point you to some truth about reality.
Yeah.
They do the same thing with near-death experiences. They do the same thing with meditation and other things where you seem to have an experience that doesn't necessarily mesh with reality. There's two options. There are more than two options, but there's two options that we're concerned about here. Your interpretation of that experience is either accurate or not. All I care about is whether or not your interpretation is accurate. And if you have no way of demonstrating that, if all you're going to do is say, look, there's this consistency experience across, contemplatives throughout history where they've had, they've felt one with the universe. Well, I don't give a rat's ass if you feel one with the universe. I'd like to know whether or not you're actually one with the universe. And until you can demonstrate that, the rest of it is, we're right back to not just verbal masturbation, mental masturbation. This is why people get high. To feel something apart from reality. But as soon as you start saying that this is now true, that we've touched on something truth, you now adopted a burden of proof. And if you want to say it's God, fine. Then when I ask you if you believe in God, you can say, yes, I believe in God, and my definition of God is that oneness sensation that we under this condition. How frickin' hard was that? If that's what you're actually, how could you possibly say you accept something, but it's so ill-defined and not understood? Then you don't accept it. And now I'm spitting, so.
Oh, well.
Spitting mad. I'm actually not mad. It's just so frustrating because the question that was listed there was, that we didn't quite get to, is have we ever considered using the methods of hunter-gatherer societies to explore spirituality?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, why would we do that? Why would we use the understanding of a pre-literate society to explore a truth claim?
Yeah, this is predicated on the notion that is popular amongst all sorts of alternative medicines.
Yeah.
That ancient peoples had access to some aspect of the truth that we have long forgotten.
Ancient wisdom.
It is.
That has been lost.
Maybe they got it from the ancient aliens.
We ate some GMOs and we lost our ancient wisdom.
Oh, no. Our souls have been consumed by high-fructose corn syrup. You first need to demonstrate that there is some good reason to think that these ancient people were onto something. I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you need to demonstrate that they were. Not just, hey, let's go exploring. I'm fine with exploring, but I have a limited amount of time on this planet. I'd like to explore things where we have some reasonable expectation that we're going to find a result, even a negative result. Even, yep, these people were full of crap. That'd be a good one. But what people are proposing are unfalsifiable propositions that are all about personal experience and how one feels, and we have no way of confirming. And, but it's peer-reviewed. No. The peer review was on people having and describing experiences, not on whether or not their descriptions of those experiences were accurate.